Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. So today we're going to do a bit of a head-to-head between my 2019 Seat Leon Cupra 290 and my wife's 2018 Volkswagen Golf GTI. So first thing, let's talk about the looks. Now looks are quite subjective, but I think the Seat definitely has the edge over the Volkswagen, especially with these 19-inch diamond cut alloys. I think I think in this mystery blue colour, I think it definitely has the edge over the Golf. So let's get inside and have a look at the interiors. Alright guys, in the Seat first for the interior. Now first thing, the seats. The seats have got this nice Alcantara sort of effect on the seats. The side bolsters, top and bottom, are good, and it's got this nice little Cupra badge on the back. The only problem that I can see in the future is these side bolsters I catch every time I get in and out, and maybe after a year or two they might start to wear. But all around the cabin it's got this carbon effect around the seats and also as well on the doors, and looks quite nice. Now interior quality, it's got soft touch plastics on the dashboard, but I have to say as you get down it starts getting a bit hard and scratchy and brittle, and certainly the door cards themselves, very hard brittle plastic at the top, and they look a bit flimsy if I'm honest. But general build quality isn't too bad. I would say it's probably average for the class. Now going on to the infotainment system, I've already covered the infotainment system briefly in one of the previous videos, so I'm not going to go through it. But with the infotainment system, unlike the Golf's which is touchscreen, this has actually got a couple of physical buttons that you have to press, and then you move through the settings with your finger being touchscreen. One thing I have noticed compared to the Golf's is, because this isn't sort of black glass covering it, it doesn't get covered in fingerprints like the Golf's, which is a good point. But I have to say the whole infotainment system screen probably doesn't look as classy as the Golf's. Now going on to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is quite nice. Again, I don't like the fact that they've put the gold Seat badge in the middle. I don't really know why they've done that, but it feels okay. The main thing about this, like a lot of cars nowadays, is you can configure a lot of the car from the steering wheel, which in some respects is very good. However, I don't like the look of it. So going into the car, one thing I do like about the Seat, which definitely gives it the edge over the Golf in so much as interior, is the dash, which is configurable. So pressing this button on the steering wheel, you can go through and I can change the digital cockpit to whatever style that I want, and also as well I can change the information that I want to see in the middle of my cockpit as well. And if I want to have the sat nav right across the dash or the digital cockpit, I can in fact have that, just like that. So that's a really good thing about the Seat, which the Golf doesn't have. But generally, quality wise, I would say average inside. Let's go and have a look at the Golf and see how that compares. Okay, getting into the interior of the Golf after the Seat, the first thing you met with are the tartan seats, which look really nice. obviously it's a hark back to the days of the original GTI, and the seats are really well bolstered as well. There's no leather in this particular model, it's just cloth, but they do feel really good. The side bolsters are quite big, and so are the side ones as well. And then if you go onto the gear stick as well, you see the gear stick is the golf ball type, again harping back to the original model, as this is the manual against the Seat's DSG, which I think is quite nice, to be honest. Interior quality, it's got quite a lot of very soft touch plastics on the top and also on the door cards as well, and generally speaking the interior quality does feel like a little step up on the Seats. Where I mentioned in the Seat that the door cards were a bit thin and looked a bit flimsy, these are quite solid things, and again they have the soft touch plastics at the top, nice materials down here, and even the buttons for the windows, they feel a little bit of higher quality. And when you get into the infotainment system, I mean, generally speaking, the infotainment system is exactly the same as the Seats, but the big difference is where on the Seat you had a couple of manual buttons to actually turn on the infotainment system, here it's all touchscreen, and it does give an air of quality and does make it look a lot nicer. The biggest problem is that when this screen gets dirty, it does leave finger marks quite easily. Now, going on the steering wheel, I do actually prefer the steering wheel on the Golf as well. They're similar in so much as the controls that are on them, but I don't know, I just think it looks a little bit nicer. As with the Seats, lots of controls on the steering wheel, which I get why they've done it to take the person having to take the hands away and using the infotainment system on there, so I guess why they've done it. Personally, I don't like to see a lot of buttons on steering wheels, but that's the way all cars are going now. But the biggest difference on the interior is the digital cockpit. Now, where the Seats was configurable and you could have different styles of cockpit, on this all you can have is a speedo on the right and the rev counter on the left. You can change what is in the middle. If you scroll through, you can have things like telephones, audios, settings, and if you go down you can change it to consumption, efficiency, but you can also have the navigation just inside the clocks. But what you can't do that you can in the Seat is you can't have the navigation across the whole of the digital cockpit. It is only in the middle, so that's a bit of a letdown for the Golf, but generally on a whole I have to say the Golf is definitely the nicer place to sit and is a step up in quality over the Seats. Alright guys, well, out on the road in the Seat Leon Cupra first. What I've decided to do is bring both the Seat and the Golf out on this little trip. It's only about a 15-20 mile circuit, but then I can compare both cars on the same roads, and I've also got the menu on fuel consumption setting as well, to see how they compare after the same journey, doing the same speeds. Now, first things first about the Seat, I mentioned it briefly before, it is really comfortable. I've got it in comfort mode, I've got it in auto mode. It is really comfortable, it's a nice place to sit. It's really well damped, you can't feel the gear changes. However, The good thing about this is I can pull it down into sport mode, which I'm in now. It drops the gears by 3, and then it gives me the chance to put my foot down in a second and really get a move on. So sport now, 4th gear, put my foot down, drops to 3rd, and it really takes off. Yeah, it's quite impressive, I've got to say. Obviously the car's got 290 horsepower, so you kind of expect it. But be under no illusion, guys, this is a quick car. If you think sort of like, I think Seat claimed 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. And 100 comes up in around sort of like 11 and a half, 12. So it's, you know, it's really quick. I mean, we're talking sort of like E46 M3 sort of quick, really. And we're on faster back roads now. First time I've really been out and given it a good squirt. Yeah, it holds the road really, really well. I've still got it in normal comfort mode at the moment as well, just because there's a few cars around. But if I put it in Cupra mode, oh, the exhaust note it changes so much, it's unbelievable. Yeah, and it feels more lively. The throttle response is more lively. And you probably can't pick it up on the camera, but there's a couple of burbles and farts as well when you let off. Typically, I've got a load of cars in front of me now. But, yeah. I mean, I know that it's probably fake noise, and I'm not bothered, I have to say. It sounds fantastic. And it goes really well. There's very, very little understeer as well. The only thing that I did notice is at about 60 miles an hour in comfort mode, there is a little bit of tyre noise. But yeah, this thing accelerates very, very well. So in the Golf, I'm on the same stretch of road as I was in the Seat, so let's see how the two compare. Now I have to say, this is the Golf GTI 230, so it is about 60 horsepower down or so on the Seat. But it feels pretty peppy, I've got to say. For a car with only 227 horsepower, it actually feels pretty good. One of the big ways you can tell it's down on horsepower, I'd argue up to about 60, there isn't a huge amount of difference between this and the Seat, but it's over 60 miles an hour. The Seat just carries on accelerating relentlessly, where this does just back off a little bit, and that lack of horsepower is does show. And also what you notice on this as well is there's a little bit of turbo lag. Now, I'm sure there's turbo lag with the Seat as well, but because it's a DSG, as soon as you plant your foot, the gearbox automatically knocks it down a cog or two, however many you need it, so you don't get that turbo lag really. If you kept it in gear, you might do if you did it manually, but when you've got it in automatic, you can't actually tell the turbo lag with this, with the Seat. One thing though that I can't get away from, and it just annoys me about this car, is the noise. The video probably didn't pick up the noise on the Cupra very well, and the noise sounded, when you put it in Cupra mode, it sounded amazing. This, that I just found that noise really annoying, and I've tried as I may, I've gone through the systems trying to see if I can change it, and I can't. So that is a little bit annoying. But now we're on a 60 stretch, you put your foot down and it does go, it's just not in the same league as the Cupra. And again, there's that noise. The noise does get slightly better as you go faster, but it's not brilliant, it has to be said. Coming up to a sharp corner now, see what it's like. Is there a lot of understeer? No, actually, the understeer's pretty good. In fact, I would go as far as saying the understeer is actually a little bit less than the Seats. It is nice having a manual box. As good as the DSG box is, yeah, it does pull out of corners well, but you can tell it's definitely not got that lively nature of the definitely hasn't got the lively nature of the Cupra. But no, it handles well, to be honest. When you're driving it normally, it does feel probably a little bit softer than the Cupra. Not a huge amount, but a little bit softer. So yeah, the GTI does stack up quite well. I still don't think it's as much fun to drive as a Cupra, even with the manual box. The Cupra's just got that surge of acceleration, which this is lacking. And even the performance pack is still 45 horsepower down on what the Cupra is. So I can't imagine there's going to be that much difference in performance. So, to summarise, have I made the right choice buying the Cupra over a Golf GTI? Well, I think so. When I compare the two cars back to back, obviously, and I'm going to compare this particular one that we've got in the family to the Cupra. The Cupra's more practical because it's got 5 doors. It's quicker. It sounds a hell of a lot better. I love the DSG gearbox. What I would say is the Golf has definitely got the better interior. It's a classier place to sit. And if this had the DSG box, which obviously is an option, this may be a better daily run around. But I don't know, it's a tough one. I certainly don't regret getting the Cupra. On the lease car deals that I was looking at, the Golf GTI Performance Pack was coming up about £150 a month more expensive than the Cupra. So obviously you've got to take that into account as well. So no, I think I made the right choice. And interior aside, and the fuel economy, because that's quite a bit better than the Cupra, I think the more sportier Cupra, for me personally, is a better option. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, bye.